A group of Arkansas parents set a poor example for their children on Wednesday when a fight among several adults broke out at a kindergarten graduation at Falk Elementary School in West Memphis. Frightened children could be heard screaming while fists flew in a crowded hallway. Some parents scrambled to move their children out of harm's way while others joined in the melee. The incident was captured on video, which appeared to show two men trying to break up the fight when they themselves began taking swings. Bystanders intervened and the brawl was eventually broken up. No one was seriously injured and police have not revealed what led to the fight, but some local residents are calling for the participants to face criminal charges for interrupting the event. Authorities have declined to arrest any suspects, but the individuals involved were reportedly given a stern warning. Number 23. Timothy Schulz. In a chaotic scenario that unfolded in Lakeland, Florida on Monday morning, a man was shot dead by police officers who were trying to help him after he was bitten by an alligator. 42-year-old Timothy Schulz was reportedly high on methamphetamines when he was spotted swimming in a gator-infested lake. He growled at onlookers who tried to offer him a life vest. Just moments before an alligator bit him in the arm, Schulz eventually exited the lake and charged at responding Polk County deputies with a pair of garden shears. After a stun gun failed to subdue him, he tried to steal a gun from a patrol car, at which point law enforcement opened fire on the suspect. Schulz died from his injuries and the deputies are on administrative leave while an investigation is carried out. He had a lengthy criminal history and had been released from jail just days earlier following a recent drug-related arrest. A convenience store clerk had reported Schulz's strange behavior to law enforcement shortly before the alligator incident, but he had slipped out of sight and wasn't spotted again until he was swimming in the lake. Number 22. Kristy Crampton. A vacation to Disney World ended in a felony child abuse charge for Kristy Crampton, who's accused of striking a boy who called her Miss Piggy and told her that she was too fat to sit in her airplane seat. The Allegiant Air flight was preparing to take off from Sanford Orlando International Airport on Monday when the incident occurred. Crampton reportedly punched the child in the face before striking him with a water bottle and slamming his head into the window as he tried to protect himself. Police came to the gate and arrested Crampton, who told officers that the child had been very rude and disrespectful during the trip. While the relationship between Crampton and the victim is unknown, they were traveling with the same group. A witness told police that Crampton was abusing the victim rather than correcting his bad behavior, but additional details are scarce after family members declined to comment to the media. Crampton was released from the Seminole County Jail after posting a $10,000 bond and has been banned from having any contact with the victim while the case plays out. Number 21. Menelek Clarke. A Miami police officer and a motorist have both been hospitalized after a bizarre confrontation ended with shots fired. According to court documents, 21-year-old Menelek Clarke continued to slowly drive up to a traffic cop, ignoring the officer's signals to stop. He kept going until the vehicle made contact with the officer, whose weapon was now drawn, then allegedly moved forward again, causing the officer to end up on the hood. While many of the details surrounding the incident remain murky, the officer ended up firing 3 gunshots at Clarke, who could be seen exiting the car and putting his hands up. Clarke is charged with aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer leaving the scene of a crash with no serious bodily injury, fleeing or eluding a police officer, and resisting an officer with violence. Clarke's sister told reporters that the car came into contact with the officer because the cop moved while Clarke was trying to drive around him, but his apparent refusal to follow the officer's orders could have a favorable impact on the cop, who has been reassigned to desk work while the investigation is carried out. Number 20. BJ Penn. On Sunday night, former UFC champion BJ Penn was arrested for abuse of a family or household member at his Hilo, Hawaii home. Footage from the incident that appeared on Instagram the following day showed the professional fighter arguing with police officers before they took him to jail at around 2 o'clock in the morning. In the video, Penn could be heard asking the cops how he could be harassing someone in his own home and insisting that he had simply gone to get his mail. He maintained his innocence in the caption of the post, but the incident occurred on the heels of another bizarre post from about a month earlier, in which he claimed that his family had been murdered and replaced by imposters. Following Penn's recent arrest, his mother petitioned for and received a temporary order of protection against her son, whom she accused of stealing her belongings. Penn has been banned from contacting or going near her while the order is in place, and a hearing has been scheduled to determine whether the order will be made permanent. Number 19. Taveon Hargrove and Wayne Lucas.
When you have dangerous individuals, it doesn't matter if it's an off-duty officer or a civilian. They will cause harm and have a total disregard.
23-year-old Taveon Hargrove already had a dozen arrests under his belt when he became a suspect in the brutal beating of an off-duty NYPD officer in the Bronx. The 27-year-old victim was attacked and robbed at knife point by 2 masked men who rifled through his pockets and stole his Glock handgun. While the officer is expected to survive, he remains hospitalized and is reportedly undergoing surgery to repair damage to his face. At the time of the incident, Hargrove was wanted on an arrest warrant for skipping a December 2024 court appearance for an unrelated weapons charge. On Tuesday, police captured him in North Chesterfield, Virginia, where he and his mother were hiding out at the home of a friend after fleeing New York City. Hargrove refused to exit the garage, where he had been sleeping on a mattress on the floor but was apprehended after being attacked by a police dog. He's currently awaiting extradition to New York while law enforcement searches for his alleged accomplice, 22-year-old Wayne Lucas. Additionally, Hargrove's father, 55-year-old Jeffrey Hargrove, is facing charges for using the officer's stolen credit card at several Bronx bodegas. Number 18. Vanessa Mariposa. In a recent video, 32-year-old Austrian influencer Vanessa Mariposa revealed that she was recently rushed to the emergency room after being drugged and robbed at a rooftop party in Mallorca, Spain. She claimed that she and a friend suddenly felt very, very bad after drinking a few glasses of wine. Neither of the women had left their drinks unattended, but they were both vomiting and left unable to walk. Mariposa blacked out and lost all recollection of the night's events. When she came to, she realized her Cartier bracelet and the SIM card to her cell phone had been stolen. She later told her followers that her partner Luca and some other friends noticed how sick she was and took her to safety. The following day, the influencer and her friend went to the hospital, where tests detected the presence of an incapacitating drug in their systems. Acknowledging that the situation could have had a much worse ending, Mariposa said she was grateful to be okay and said she was sharing her story to warn other women to stay alert and be vigilant. Number 17. Liverpool parade ramming incident. Dozens of people were injured and 4 have been left fighting for their lives after a van rammed into a crowd of British soccer fans at a Liverpool Football Club victory parade on Monday. At least 1 million visitors had flooded into the city to celebrate the team's 2024-25 Premier League title win. The incident unfolded shortly after 6 p.m. when a white male driver was seen arguing with some pedestrians. He drove into a large crowd before stopping, at which point onlookers began smashing his vehicle windows, before accelerating again and hitting more victims in a seemingly deliberate manner. Out of the 79 people who were injured, 50 were taken to the hospital. Police arrested a 53-year-old British man at the scene, and he remains in custody on charges of attempted murder, dangerous driving, and driving while unfit through drugs. While the investigation is ongoing, authorities have thus far ruled out terrorism as a motive and are treating the case as an isolated incident with no ongoing threat to the public. Number 16. Close call in California. KTLA News reporters Kimberly Cheng and Andre Cox were preparing to shoot a segment about President Trump's tariffs at an Apple store in Pasadena, California, when an irate man approached a shopping center with several gun cases in hand. He was arguing on the phone with law enforcement about a child custody dispute and described himself as a mental patient seeking help, which made the situation all the more alarming when he set the cases on the ground and opened them. The man had 6 guns with him, including an AR-style rifle, prompting the news crew to dial 911. Visibly alarmed bypassers hurriedly walked away, while other witnesses later said that they had initially thought a movie was being filmed at the property. They realized that they were watching a real-life scenario unfold when they noticed how genuinely upset the man seemed. Police arrived within minutes and wrestled him into custody, much to onlookers' relief. As it turned out, none of the guns were loaded, and it's unclear whether the man has been charged. Number 15. Dr. Bruce Mitchell. A Florida doctor has been arrested on felony charges for allegedly shooting a gun at a car full of teenagers who pelted his Range Rover with cheese in Ponte Vedra Beach. 67-year-old Bruce Mitchell, who formerly worked at the Jacksonville Mayo Clinic, reportedly gave chase to the high schooler's vehicle after they threw the cheese at his SUV at a traffic light. During the aggressive pursuit, he appeared to point a gun in the air and pull the trigger, causing the young driver of the car he was chasing to step on the gas in an apparent panic. Mitchell stopped chasing the teens after a police officer drove past and was pulled over shortly thereafter. He reportedly told officers that the teens had shot at him first, then refused to speak with law enforcement any further. Meanwhile, the driver of the other car told investigators that he feared for his life and for the lives of his friends as Mitchell tailed closely behind them. Mitchell was released on bond shortly after his arrest and is charged with discharge of a weapon from a vehicle and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill. Number 14. Jarrett Funke. An Indiana Pacers fan is facing battery and recklessness charges for stabbing another man at a Carmel, Indiana brewery during Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. 24-year-old Jarrett Funke was at Danny Boy Beer Works with his father when he began exchanging words with a group of Knicks fans. During the initial confrontation, Funke was led away by his father while he screamed at the fellow patrons. He left the brewery, but returned a short while later with a knife and stabbed the victim in the back. Funke told police that the Knicks fans had started the altercation, but witnesses and the victims told a much different story. They claimed that Funke had run through a fence to attack them while they sat on a patio and knocked a Knicks hat off one of the fans. He's facing multiple felony charges, including battery by means of a deadly weapon, battery resulting in a serious bodily injury, and criminal recklessness committed with a deadly weapon. Funke was booked into the Hamilton County Jail following his arrest, but is no longer listed as being in custody, indicating that he most likely posted bail. Number 13. Cameron McDougall. A newly released video of a Canadian man's unprovoked attack against TSA agents in Miami shows the moment the irate traveler began throwing punches without warning in front of dozens of shocked onlookers at a crowded security checkpoint. 28-year-old Cameron Dylan McDougall had just been removed from a Copper Airlines flight from Panama to Canada for hitting a fellow passenger, which had forced the crew to divert to Miami. He was not arrested and was allowed to buy another flight ticket to Toronto, but he randomly attacked a fellow traveler after passing through security. McDougall then attacked a TSA agent and was shoved to the floor. He landed on his back, but continued to fight as an agent grabbed his legs and tried to subdue him. After attacking multiple officials, he was no longer welcome to fly home and instead found himself in custody at the Miami-Dade jail. McDougall has pleaded guilty to 2 federal counts of assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers and is currently awaiting sentencing for the charges, with each carrying a maximum sentence of 1 year in jail. Number 12. William Duplessie. NYPD officials have announced the arrest of a second suspect in the kidnapping of an Italian cryptocurrency entrepreneur who was tortured for nearly 3 weeks at a Manhattan townhouse. 33-year-old William Duplessie surrendered to the authorities on Tuesday morning and is facing charges of kidnapping and false imprisonment. His alleged accomplice, 37-year-old John Waltz, was captured in Kentucky and is charged with assault, kidnapping, unlawful prisoning, and a gun-related count. The victim, 28-year-old Italian Bitcoin entrepreneur Michael Valentino Teofrasto Carturan, was bound, tased, held at gunpoint, forced to smoke crack cocaine, dangled over the ledge of a 5th-floor balcony, and threatened with death by the suspects, who demanded the password to his crypto wallet. Carturan refused to give up the password and is now safe after escaping from captivity last week. He and Waltz were former friends who had recently had a falling out over money. Carturan had flown back to Italy, but Waltz persuaded him to return to New York. Duplessie is currently awaiting his arraignment, and Waltz is being held without bail after prosecutors expressed concerns that he might flee in his private jet or helicopter. Number 11. Aaron Cuauhtemoc Domsky. In an unprovoked attack that was captured on video on Tuesday morning, a Costa Mesa, California man punched an NYPD sergeant in the jaw as the officer tried to guide him out of the street in Times Square. The incident happened shortly before 3 a.m. when 21-year-old Aaron Cuauhtemoc Domsky slugged the officer. He attempted to flee the scene, slapping a 19-year-old woman in the face and elbowing a 35-year-old woman, who fell backwards and hit her head on the ground. The officer was visibly startled by the punch, but wasted no time chasing after Domsky. After he was struck, police eventually caught up with the suspect, who's facing 2nd and 3rd degree assault charges. He's been ordered to undergo a psychiatric exam and remains in custody in lieu of $30,000 cash bail or $60,000 bond. Number 10. Gwendolyn Girard. A Florida mother is facing serious criminal charges after police say she stabbed her preteen daughter at the Cecil Webb Wildlife Management Area and abandoned her at the scene. A passerby spotted the victim desperately waving her arms to get his attention. She was alone, weak, and struggling to speak. The victim was treated for her injuries and was able to identify the attacker as her mother, 35-year-old Gwendolyn Girard. The victim told police that her mother grabbed her in the back of the head, took her to the ground, and stabbed her in the chest. During the attack, Girard reportedly said that everyone was trying to take custody of the girl, so she had decided to kill her first. Police captured Girard roughly 22 miles from the preserve in North Fort Myers after finding her abandoned getaway car. She reportedly confessed to the stabbing and is currently in custody at the Charlotte County Jail on suspicion of aggravated battery, causing great bodily harm. Bail is set at $500,000 and her arraignment is scheduled for June 30th. Number 9. Bruce Pierce. A child predator from Indiana was killed last Saturday night when his preteen victim's mother caught him trying to assault the girl at an Indianapolis motel. Bruce Pierce had been talking with the woman's daughter online and was reportedly trying to persuade her to run off with him when her mother entered the room. Pierce had a gun in his hand, but the victim's mother was able to retrieve her own weapon. She opened fire on Pierce while her daughter escaped out from under him, and they called the police after fleeing the scene in a vehicle and getting to a safe place. Pierce, who has 2 previous convictions on his record for harming children, was hospitalized while receiving treatment for his multiple critical gunshot wounds. A warrant has been issued for his arrest on multiple assault, confinement, and weapons charges, but his current condition and prospects for recovery are unclear. Number 8. Chad Lee-Gardner. while responding to a reported shooting at a high school graduation party in Ulland, Texas, at 1 a.m. last Sunday. Police found 18-year-old recent graduate Andrew Farias unresponsive with 2 gunshot wounds. He had graduated from high school less than a day earlier and would soon succumb to his injuries, permanently putting his college football plans on hold. Witnesses told police that the victim had been shot while confronting 18-year-old Chad Lee-Gardner, who had struck the female homeowner in the head while intervening in a fight between 2 women. By the time law enforcement arrived, Lee-Gardner had fled the scene. He was arrested in Austin on Monday night and is currently being held at the Travis County Jail on a murder charge. Number 7. Lauren Ingrid Flanagan. Shortly before 5 p.m. on Monday evening, police responded to a home in Moore Park Beach in Queensland, Australia's Bundaberg region, where they found a little girl named Sophia stabbed to death in the front yard. A knife was recovered from the scene and the girl's mother, 32-year-old Laura Ingrid Flanagan, has been charged with her murder. 2 children who were found uninjured at the residence have been placed in the care of relatives. A police spokesperson acknowledged that law enforcement had received multiple calls about the incident but declined to go into detail about a rumor that Flanagan claimed God had told her to kill her daughter. Authorities also refused to publicly speculate on whether the suspect's mental health may have been a factor in the crime, but they said that it will play a role in their investigations moving forward. Flanagan recently made some unusual social media posts, including one which stated that God is calling his army out of hiding and urged followers to take a stand against the system. It's unclear whether the posts offer any insight into her mindset at the time of the killing. Number 6. The death of Ava Moore. A pair of suspected undocumented immigrants have been arrested in connection with the hit-and-run death of teenage Air Force recruit Ava Moore, who was hit by a jet ski on Sunday evening while kayaking on Grapevine Lake in Texas. The alleged jet ski driver, 21-year-old Venezuelan national Jacqueline Alejandra Gonzalez was reportedly driving at a high speed when the vehicle struck Moore. She fled the scene in a man's car, which struck 2 other vehicles while onlookers attempted unsuccessfully to save Moore's life. A second woman who had been riding on the jet ski during the collision remained at the scene and was ultimately cleared of any wrongdoing. Police arrested Gonzalez and the male suspect, 21-year-old Michael Cuauhtemoc, on Tuesday following a standoff at the woman's Dallas area home, where the pair eventually surrendered. Gonzalez is facing a manslaughter charge, but Moore's death could have been prevented if she was never allowed in the U.S. to begin with, according to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who said that she and Cuauhtemoc were in the country illegally when the tragedy occurred. Number 5. Owen Grant. 32-year-old mother of 2, Lucretia Keisha Donaghy, was found dead in her home in the Scottish town of Elgin in November of 2023. The murder weapon was never found, but it was evident, based on her injuries, that she had been bludgeoned with a hammer or a similar blunt object. A neighbor reported hearing a heated argument coming from Donaghy's apartment, but the killer was gone by the time police arrived. Investigators connected the crime to 43-year-old Owen Grant, who was struggling financially when he killed Donaghy. While Grant's motive remains unclear, authorities believe he owed Donaghy money for a drug debt. He had a history of violent behavior, which only further piqued detectives' suspicions. In the days following the murder, the typically broke suspect was suddenly flush. He squandered hundreds of dollars of the victim's stolen money on cocaine, but it was only a matter of time before he got caught. Grant was found guilty of murder on Thursday following a jury trial and was sentenced to life with a minimum of 24 years. Number 4. Florida duck attack. 2 Florida men were attacked by an unlikely culprit in a quiet neighborhood in Cape Coral recently, where a Muscovy duck bit James Sepulveda while he was watching the sunset from his porch. Sepulveda later told Fox 4 that he was dozing off while sitting outside when something jabbed his hand. When he looked down, it was bleeding, and the offending creature had no apparent plans to leave. Later named Jimmy, the bird did not back down when Sepulveda tried to shoo it away, and it even tried following him into his house before moving on to the home of his neighbor, Richard Guy. Because the species is protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission initially announced that nothing could be done about the disruptive avian visitor. But federal law allows for the humane removal of Muscovy ducks when they roam outside their natural range. An animal rescue volunteer picked Jimmy up and took him to a sanctuary where he'll have plenty of space to wander without wreaking havoc on a residential community. Number 3. James Paul. While responding to a home in the far northern region of Queensland, Australia on Tuesday night, police found married couple James and Crystal Paul dead from gunshot wounds. The couple, who were both 41 years old, had been high school sweethearts. There was no documented history of violence between the two, but based on the evidence, it appeared as though Crystal had met a violent end at her husband's hands. Investigators soon learned that Crystal had been planning to leave James. She had just finished packing her bags and was walking out the door when James fired the fatal gunshots. Before opening fire on his wife, he had sent their young daughter to a neighbor's home, indicating that the killing was planned. Neighbors, friends, and community members were shocked by the nature of the couple's deaths, making it clear that the seemingly content marriage was falling apart behind closed doors. The case remains under investigation, and police have urged anyone with surveillance footage or information to come forward. Number 2. Serial car burglar strikes again. A teenage serial car burglar was cut loose after breaking into more than 120 cars in one night, and he's reportedly a suspect in the burglaries of over a dozen more cars, which were broken into following his release from custody. During the first spate of break-ins, the unnamed young man and 2 accomplices drove around Laurel in a stolen vehicle while systematically smashing the windows of one car after another. While searching the teen suspect's home, police found credit cards, car keys, and other recently stolen items. Prosecutors urged the judge to deny bail, but the judge sent the suspect home, noting his lack of a prior record and the classification of the burglaries as low-level crimes. He and his accused co-conspirators are facing multiple theft and motor vehicle theft charges for their alleged crimes. Number 1. Jaiden Perkins. 25-year-old Jaiden Perkins has spoken out after being beaten by Ventura County Sheriff's deputies at a restaurant in Camarillo, California, where he intervened in a violent fight between one of the men and his wife. After noticing the woman crying while doing his normal rounds, Perkins went to her table and asked if she was okay. Surveillance footage would later show the woman's husband, 33-year-old off-duty deputy Dylan Davis, shoving her several times before exiting the restaurant with 27-year-old Anthony Malagon, who was also a sheriff's deputy. The woman's friends reassured Perkins that everything was okay, so he went back to his normal duties while the group left. A few minutes later, he overheard a commotion outside and allegedly saw Davis choking his wife near the sidewalk. Perkins immediately stepped in, but was attacked and beaten by Davis and Malagon, who are accused of stomping on his head, smashing his phone, and threatening to kill him. Both deputies are facing several felony charges, while Perkins continues to suffer the long-term effects of a concussion and other injuries, which have left him unemployed. He's pursuing a $1 million lawsuit against the sheriff's office, and his attorney recently said that the agency appears interested in reaching a settlement